Hello again, it's time for a brand new guest here on Duke's Copy TV. I've been to the offices of London Stone Securities to discuss equities with Ranjeet Sandhu. So this January rally, are you convinced it's going to go much further?
I'm not, no. I'm a bit of a bear. Obviously, Santa Claus rally happens pretty much year in, year out. I think the last 10 years, I think 6 or 7 years out of 10 it's happened. This year's been quite prevalent because, of course, the fiscal cliff for the US. But no, I think the psychological 6,000 barrier is broken, but I think it's a false breakout. So we're targeting about 5,900 in February.
Yes, so what about February? We have the Italian election, and also we still have those fiscal problems in the US, so there's still some big questions which need to be answered.
There are, and I think that's the issue, because people have, well, in many cases, have very short memories. I think the Greece situation will implode this year. I think the Spain situation is not much better. The US still have huge amounts of debt. And of course, we have our own problems. So, I think the old adage, kicking the can down the road is probably more true than ever before. So yeah, I think there'll be not a serious correction in February, but I think there'll be a sell-off. But I think there'll probably be 2, possibly 3 fairly sizable corrections this year. Selling may go away as an obvious one, perhaps one in the summer, and maybe one towards the tail end of the year.
Yeah, and what particular assets are you looking at that were going to provide some profit opportunities?
Gold. I think gold's always a good safe haven. I think at the moment I think gold's still fairly undervalued. There are individual companies that we're looking at as a wealth management firm. Centum in Egypt is hugely undervalued. That's our top tip for 2013. They were £1.10 before Christmas. They're now about 50p. They've been rallying very hard. There are political problems because of where they are based, obviously in Egypt. We like oil. We still think oil's undervalued. And in terms of currencies, the Swiss franc we think is undervalued because it will be a safe haven as investors start to move away from equities. So
if you're talking about the Swiss franc, then you're assuming that the SNB are going to fail in keeping that floor against the euro?
I think it's possible. I think we saw a year ago where people were panicked. They started selling the euro. People can't buy the dollar for obvious reasons, I don't think. UK sterling is still undervalued. Interest rates are so low here. So I think Swiss franc is not a natural person's choice, but I think it's investors are being pushed toward the Swiss franc, and I think it will happen again this year.
And why are you interested in companies related to gold and oil rather than the commodities themselves?
I think because gold itself as a stock can be extremely volatile, and I think they have far too many factors that are difficult to predict. I think when you look at an individual company, particularly a FTSE 250 company like Centum in Egypt, if you do good research and find out the mechanics of the business and find out who's behind the business, I think you can often get more value for your investors than just doing a punt on gold where literally you've got, you're competing with hundreds of thousands of investors globally.
Let's just focus on the UK briefly, the fundamental picture here. There's lots of questions about the success of austerity, how much further it needs to go, or whether we need to actually loosen austerity. And also the AAA rating is very much under threat. So what's your outlook for the UK economy?
I'm surprisingly, I'm actually reasonably bullish on the UK. I'm a fan of the austerity cuts. I think it's the right thing to do. Whilst I don't want to make this into political, I think I'm a fan of the coalition government, of what they're trying to achieve. I think they're in a very difficult position. The biggest risk to the UK right now is losing AAA status. Can that happen? Yes, it can. Is it probable? No, but it's possible. It's on the cards, and if that happens, then there will be ramifications, I think, globally. But I give a 2-year window, and I think the UK will actually fare better than the US, better than Europe. I think it will be, apart from the BRIC countries, I think it will be pretty much there or thereabouts.
And what makes you say that? Because there seems to be a real lack of growth in the UK economy at the moment.
There is, but they don't have the fundamental problems that in Europe, for example. They have a better lid on their finances, and as difficult as decisions are being made, they are still helping with the deficit reduction to some degree, and they don't have half the problems that the US have. So I think it's difficult, yes, I think the fact that they are not part of Europe in terms of a fiscal status has been the biggest, the best thing that could have happened to the UK. And I think there's still a lot to be said about the UK financial services market. We are in a global recession, but I don't think the UK are going to be off as bad as perhaps some of its counterparts.
Ranjeet Sandhu from London Stone Securities speaking to me there. As always, we have plenty of quality interviews to come here on Digs Copy TV, so stay tuned. But for now, goodbye.